Okay, Rich Alverson here, and this is a repeat of ITS148. Today is Thursday, September 4th, and the video for yesterday's lecture didn't turn out very well. So I'm gonna just do a short replay here. I have about 20 minutes or so. Uh, so so uh, so let me first start by we're in chapter 4. And let me share my screen here. Let's see, share this screen. All right. So chapter 4 has to do with how to work with numeric and string data. And, uh, and a couple of the important things here is we're going to learn how to initialize variables. We're going to learn about expressions and operator precedence. Uh, Today, we're going to quickly cover casting and converting data from one type to another. You should remember this from 148 or from 128. Next time, we'll cover scope and so on. First, let's review the different built-in types that C# has, and it has to do with how much memory space it takes up. Of course, 1 byte is 8 bits, and these are the byte and S byte are the built-in data types that can be use 1 byte. There's short, which is 2 bytes, and various integers, signed and unsigned. There's a 4 byte, which is integer, a full, the regular default integer size is 4 bytes, and that can range from about -2 billion to +2 billion, and so on. And there's 8 bytes for larger numbers, and there's even a decimal type which uses 16 bytes. Uh, when we declare variables, we generally say what the type is and then say what the name is, and then we can initialize it to a value. It's like this, we're initializing a counter. We can also do it this way. This is the next slide, where we do the declaration and the initialization at the same time. And you know about the different, how to express different data types when you're making these assignments. Remember that from last semester. There's constants also, and the difference between a variable and a constant is once you initialize it, constants can't change at all during your program execution, whereas variables, of course, can. The arithmetic operators you're familiar with: plus, minus, multiplication, division, and modulus, which is the remainder after division. There are these unary operators, as they say. When you put a plus sign in front of a number, you're saying specifically that it's a positive number. You can put a minus sign to say it's a negative number. And then these are increment. These are actually operations that you can operate on a variable that actually changes the value of the variable. Plus plus will increment the variable right next to it. If you put it right next to it, and a minus minus will decrement or subtract 1 from it. And you're familiar with expressions and this business of truncating the remainder when you're doing integer operations, and when you're using decimal type variables, it doesn't. There's no truncation that takes place, so you can have a number to the right of the decimal point. There are these assignment operators. You're familiar with these. And for casting, that's when you change from one type to another. And there's various ways that you can do that. In C#, the types, when you're doing operations on variables, the types of the variables matter. You can't multiply an integer by a string. But you can have a string that looks like an integer because it just has digits in it. And you may want to use it like an integer, and in that case, you do a cast. You cast it somehow, or you convert it somehow. So there's this implicit casting, uh, which can take place when you're going from a less precise variable to a more precise variable. And then you can do explicit casting when you're kind of going the other way. You actually put the type in front of the variable or the number that you want it to look like, what you want to cast it to. Let's see, we'll skip the math classes right now. Come back to those later. Let me find convert. Strings, dealing with strings, we can set strings equal to various things. When you want to concatenate strings, use a plus sign. These are the different value types in C#, and these are ways you can do data conversion. These are methods that connect onto a variable. So this changes a number to a string. This will change a string to a number, and so will this. And so there's a class called convert. And a convert class has a bunch of methods that can do anything to anything. Okay, so there probably was convert class first, and then these other ones, try, parse, and toString, and so on, came along later because they're all covered in convert. See, this converts something, text to a decimal. This converts text to an integer, and so on. This converts a number to a string, and so on. Okay, so let's start the exercise. And so I'm done with the important slides from yesterday. The exercise today that I was going to cover is exercise 4-1. And in this exercise, all we do is we create this little application here where you enter the length and the width, and it will compute the perimeter, and it will compute the area. And the area is the length times the width, so it's just 25 times 100. And the perimeter is 2 times the length, which makes this 50, plus 2 times the width, which makes this 200. And that's why we have, for perimeter, we have 250. I mentioned earlier that in these classes, in the ITS classes, programming classes, we generally don't expect you to come in with a lot of math. But when it comes time to know the math, we teach it to you at that time. And in case you didn't remember this from high school, we've just reminded you how to compute the area of a rectangle and the perimeter of a rectangle. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new file, a new project, and I've done that already on the left here. I've saved it someplace. I can't remember where it is, but it's in a folder someplace. And I should actually name it area and perimeter. I did not do that, did I? Named it exercise 4-1. I'm going to create a new one here. New project, and it's going to be a language C#, platform Windows, project type desktop, and these are my choices. It's going to be a Windows Forms application, this one here. So I'm going to click here and next, and I'm going to name it area and perimeter. And you should put it down. It doesn't matter where you put it because you're just going to zip it up for me anyway, but I'm going to put it down here in a folder I have called assignment projects. And I'm going to create it. And so here we are. So, so first of all, let's make this form. And we're supposed to add labels, text boxes, buttons to the default form so it looks like above. When the user presses the enter key and the click event for the calculate button should fire, and when the user presses the escape key, the click event for the exit button should fire. Okay, so I'm going to start by clicking over here, and the first thing I notice here is at the top it says area and perimeter. So let me click on this, and I've got my properties up here, and your properties window might be someplace else, but you can set it so it's takes the whole length of the window here. And I'm going to find a field called text that says form 1 in it. Form, not this one, that's the name. Here it is. So I'm going to name this, I'm going to say area and perimeter. And you see now up here at the top here, that's what it says. I'm going to add labels and text boxes and buttons, so it looks like that. So let me add a label. And click on this thing. Oh, there we go. Label and text box. I wonder why that's happening. Let me put this down up here. Let me save it. And let me see if I can copy paste this. Oh, there, that works. Okay, so I guess we're fine. So let me put these two over here, and I want to line them up nicely. And there's a third one. Oh, there's two more. So I'm going to do copy paste. I'm doing and I can do a paste again. I'm doing Control V, and there's a fourth one. And I got a calculate button down here. I wonder what's going on here. I hope yours isn't doing that. What happens if I double click this? There we go. That looks nice. Okay. So now I've got this button two lined up, and I'm going to select all of these, and I'm going over here, and I'm going to change the font to something much larger, like 12. Enter. Okay. Let me make this a little bigger. Make this a little bigger. And now I'm going to continue to make it look like this. For the label 1, I'm going to put, let's see, I didn't mean to do that. Let me I'm going to, I'll show you how to get rid of this later. Okay. I mistakenly double clicked on it. So click on label and find the text field right here, and I'm going to change this to length, colon, enter, and I'm going to change this one to width, colon, and I'm going to change this to area, colon, and I'm going to change this to perimeter, colon, enter. And on the button, I'm going to have that say calculate. And I'm going to have this button, I'm going to have this say exit. And I want to make sure that I can read these things. Okay. And I'm going to, when the user presses the, okay, so I'm going to create the event handler. I do that here. But I'm going to create the event handler first. Let's see, let me click on the form here. And to do this second part, when the user presses the enter key and the calculate and so on, it should, I haven't done it this way before, but let me see if I can find properties, miscellaneous here. Does this have a, okay, I'm going to create the event handlers first because it says button 1, button 2, and I don't want to use button 1, button 2. So I'm going to double click on calculate. Oh, first of all, I need to name, let me name these buttons. So I'm going to click on the calculate button, and I'm going to come over here and find the name field. Here it is right here. And I'm going to name that BTN calculate, enter. And I'm going to click on this one and name this one BTN exit, enter. And while I'm at it, I'm going to name these up here. Let me click on length, and I'm going to name this one TXT length, enter. I'm going to name this TXT width, enter. And I'm going to name this TXT area, enter. And I'm going to name this TXT perimeter, enter. And now that these are named, oh, the other thing I need to do is, as it's shown above, you notice these two, the area and the perimeter, they are read-only. That's why they're shaded darker. The user cannot enter anything in there. So let me do that. Click on the area here, and there should be a read only. Here it is. Change it from false to true. And same with this one. Change it from false to true. And I think, let me make it smaller so it looks more like the picture. All right, that looks fine. Okay, so, I was going to, these click event. When the user presses the enter key, which is this one, we want, okay, so to set up the enter key and the escape key, click on just the form itself and go over to the right here and find miscellaneous. Here it is, miscellaneous. And for the accept button, click on BTN calculate, and for the cancel button, click on BTN exit. And that appears that way now because I named these controls. All right, now I'm going to create an event handler for the click event of the calculate button. This event handler should get the values of the user enters for the length and the width and calculate the area and the perimeter. And then move the focus back to the length box. And we can assume that the user is entering in correct data correctly. So let me double click on the calculate button. And this is the event handler here for the calculate button. So let's create the area. Let's have it be a decimal number. Decimal is going to be the decimal, call it area, equals. And I'm going to take the contents of the length button and the contents, length text box and width text box. So, and I have to convert that. So I'm going to use the convert method, convert class. Convert dot to decimal, parentheses, and then inside here I put txt area. No, txt length dot text, close parentheses, times convert to decimal txt width dot text, close parentheses, enter. Let me, I'm not going to need this window over here, so let me make that smaller. Okay, so that computes the area. And the perimeter then is, I'm just going to do a copy and paste, and I'm going to change this area button to perimeter, variable to perimeter, and it's going to be convert to decimal, this times 2 plus the, times 2, and plus this times 2. So that computes the perimeter, and now I'm going to write this back out again into the area and the perimeter text box. So let me do that. txt area dot text is equal to area, but I got to change it to a string. So I'm just going to use the toString method. I could use the convert if I wanted to, but I'm going to use toString because that's easier. And there's a bunch of formatting options with toString, and we'll cover that later. But I just want to get you into the habit of using toString when you're converting a variable to a string to display out into a text box. The other one is text perimeter, and that's equal to perimeter dot toString. Okay. Oh, I forgot to do the .text. All right. And now let's go back here, and I want to get rid of this label one click. If you double click on the label here, it's going to execute this event handler. I don't want to just delete this event handler. What I do is I go back here and I click on that label, that's label 1 up here, and I have to click over to this lightning rod here, click the lightning rod, and find the event handler for label 1, click, and here I want to just get rid of this. I'm just going to click there and get rid of it here. So it's blank, enter, and then when I go back here, it should be gone, and it's gone. Okay, great. I need to put the event handler for the exit button, so let me double click this, and it creates this. And let me do this close. This is going to close the phone. All right, let's test this out. Let me click run. And let's go back here so we can see that this thing. Okay, it showed up over here. We go. And so let's put these in, 25, tab, 100, enter, and we get 2,500, 250. If we do 10, 20, we click calculate, and oh, I forgot something, didn't I? No, I guess I do not have to put the focus. I don't have to put the focus back to the link. That's on the next assignment. Okay, so one thing, the calculate doesn't look right here. So let me exit this. Let me press the escape key. I'll click on here, press the escape key, and there we go. It ends. That works great. Let me go back to the form, and let me make this button a little bit bigger. And so let me run this again. And here it is, shows up over here. The calculate button is there. And I'm going to try the enter feature. The length is 100, and tab, the length is 25. Enter, and we see that it does calculate there. All right, click the exit button, and that works. All right, so that concludes this lecture, and I've shown you how to do the exercise 4-1. And let's see, let me pop up my notes here. Okay, so that I was going to show you the rubric for here, so I'm just going to put that up here and close this session. Let me share my screen one more time. And if we look at this spreadsheet here, we see this is the rubric that I'm going to use to grade, and I'll cover this more tomorrow. I have a rubric for the next assignment also. This is for program specifications. This is how you get excellent. This is how you get good. This is not so good, but you still get points. And so I'll just leave this up here, and I'm going to close this out now, and I will close this out, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.